Okay, so the next phase that we want to talk about here is the monster phase. And there's a couple of things to talk about related to the monster cards and the different states monsters can be in, and the different things that they can do. So, first of all, there's a couple different states that monsters can be in. So this monster has the darker side of the card face up, and that means that the monster is in his ready phase, or ready state. So when in the ready state, that means that the monster is ready to move, ready to attack, ready to engage, or like in this case, ready to patrol and move toward the unstable space. And then engage with the highest influence person. All right, so I guess I'll explain real quick. So the unstable space is, if you look at the event card discard pile, whatever card is face up here, so whenever you get a clue card, right, or in this case, this is the initial card that we drew to put a Doom token on Hibbs Roadhouse, right? So whatever space has the Doom symbol, that is the unstable space, right? So that's what that is. Okay, so this monster is in his ready state and ready to take action, ready to do stuff, okay? If the monster is flipped over, that would mean that he is exhausted. And that just basically means that the monster is encumbered with something, or like distracted, or can't do anything, okay? And then the third state is that the monster could be engaged with a player. And when that happens, you take the card and you put it with the light side up on the player card, and that means that that player, Agnes, is engaged with that monster. And then that also means that Agnes has limited actions that she can take, right? So in this case, right, it's only focus, attack, and evade. And it says right here, while engaged with a monster, you can only do those things, okay? So those are the different states that a monster can be in, okay? I pulled out a couple different monster cards here, just so you can kind of see the difference, right? So what you can tell from looking at the dark face, the ready side of this card, you can see like this name, nice picture, and then the number in the circle is the monster's speed, right? So if we look at a couple different ones, this monster doesn't move at all, so there's a dash. This one moves 2 spaces at a time, and then this one has an asterisk, and that's because he moves directly to a place, and so there's no speed. So it could be across the board, it could be right next to the next space over. So there's no speed on that. So it also, at the bottom of the card, it also tells you where the monster spawns at. So in this case, at a street nearest the leader, okay? And again, the leader is the person with the flashlight token, okay? And then each monster can have a different activation. So like this one is a lurker, and lurkers don't move, they just stay in one place, and they put, like this one will put Doom on different spaces around it, right? This one is like a patrolling monster, so he moves toward the unstable space, just like the example right here, okay? And then this one is a hunter, and this one will move directly to a player that has, and engage with one that has the most remnants, okay? And remember, the remnants are these tokens. Yep. So during that monster phase, right, the monsters, you go through and you do each of these 3 things, right? So you will, any ready monsters will activate and do their thing that basically says on their card, right? And then, right, if a monster does move, at any time, if a character shares a space as a monster, like this one would move, right? So he moves and then immediately engages with that character, right, during the monster phase, right? So that would be during that first point, right? So the monster activates. And then, right, and then the second part is each engaged monster deals damage. So if this was the monster phase, the first part is he'd move here and then engage with the player and then attack, okay? And just as a reminder, if we hadn't talked about it, so what these mean is that is the amount of health that the monster has. So the amount of damage you need to do to kill it. This is and then these are the modifiers that the monsters do to you. So you don't have any detriment for fighting it. So it doesn't affect your strength at all, and it doesn't affect, so this is for attacking, and then it doesn't affect your perception, your observation for evading, because that's the test that you need to do to evade, and this is the test that you need to do to attack. And then all the way at the bottom, that is the amount of damage that the monster deals. So just one health, okay? And then lastly, what happens is exhausted monsters will ready. So if this monster was exhausted when the monster phase started, it wouldn't do anything during those first two parts, but then at the end of the monster phase, all exhausted monsters would flip back over and become ready again. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the encounter phase. And every player will have an encounter unless you're engaged with a monster. If you are engaged with a monster, then you just have to skip this part. Right, so in the beginning of the game, we divided up and set up these different cards based on their neighborhood, right? So we're using Merchant District, we're using Rivertown, so we set up the cards for all of their neighborhoods, right? And then we also have this other deck for the streets. So if you were over here, then you would pick from the streets card, right? Because you're not in a particular neighborhood. And then when you pick that card, I am in the scenic area because of that little tree. So I would read the scenic option on this card, okay? And then once you resolve that, you would put it at the bottom of the stack, just like so, okay? And same thing would go if I was actually here in downtown. I would pick up the top card, read it based on, I'm in Arkham Asylum, so I would read the top line for Arkham Asylum and resolve that encounter, okay? And then once that's done, pass or fail, I would put it at the bottom of the encounter deck, okay? Now, I'm in downtown right now, and there's a clue in the middle, which means that there is a clue in one of the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. So now let's just say, drew again. So in that encounter, I didn't get a clue. I just have to try again on the next turn, right? So let's just say this time I pick it and I have the clue one. I still resolve the Arkham Asylum encounter, right? Because that's where I am. But I have the opportunity to get a clue, right? So it says, that's what this icon is here. So if I get the clue, if I pass the test, right, and get it, then I would take the clue and put it on my character card, and then I would take the event card and put it in the event discard, right? And then there's now a new unstable space, which would be independent square, because it has that little icon there, okay? But if I fail the test, then what happens is I take the top 2 cards of this deck and then shuffle those 3 cards together and put them all back on top and have to try that all over again. So it's important to get those clues when you can, okay? So we'll just put all that back. And the other thing that I wanted to mention about the encounters, because you move around the board and you can land in different spaces and you're not always in like the best of positions, so you can strategically place yourself, right? So there's little clues that show what the types of encounters that you're likely to get at each place. So like for example, this is likely that you'll pay money and gain some sanity back, right? Or for here, you're likely to need to do an observation check or an influence check and then gain money from it, right? Or for example, where's the... Oh, I guess we don't have a general... Oh, we do have a general store. Yeah, so like, for example, the general store, you would pay money and get a gun or item, right? So from here. And usually that'll be, you have to choose an item from the display, okay? So that is how you can sort of strategically place yourself around the board and sort of know the types of encounters that you will get.